Hello and welcome to the Sephirah Center of Shamanism. My name is Luke, experienced practitioner and mentor of the shamanic and occult sciences. On this channel, we break down all things relating to the ancient shamanic and occult technologies, bringing them into balance with the modern psychology and deep psyche. Today, we're going to be delving into the psychology of the Demiurge and his Archons. We're going to be looking at what these concepts actually are, understanding their relation to the ego and the shadow, and understanding the true role of the multiverse, of the matrix, and how it can be interpreted as either a prison or a powerful evolutionary technology for your soul. So if this is something that you are interested in, then definitely stay tuned. So the Demiurge and his Archons are concepts that come from Gnosticism, but are also concepts that are spoken about a lot within the occult circles. It's important to understand that there are more to these archetypes than meet the eye. Yeah, the occult is all about exploring the hidden aspects of the self. So in a sense, it's looking at what you could call these mythologies and understanding their connection to the psyche, understanding their connection to the ego, understanding their connection to your evolutionary path. But to really understand the role of the Demiurge and the Archons, we need to look at the role of the multiverse or the matrix. This is a concept which isn't really understood within the New Age circles. It's something which is portrayed only as a holographic reality, is portrayed only as we're living in a fake reality, and it's something that we need to escape from. Yeah, but there's a lot more to it than that, which I'll go into. So the multiverse refers specifically to the technology that has been cultivated in order for the soul to get to know itself. The process of the soul getting to know itself is referred to as the divine plan. And the divine plan is simply the process of the oneness cultivating meaning for itself through the process of separation. Okay, so the oneness was cultivated from the depths of the abyss. The abyss is the source, the abyss is the dark womb, the abyss is that pure feminine space that births things into existence. Yeah. The abyss is not something which is defined by anything. It has no laws or regulations, doesn't have any form, and that also means it doesn't have any meaning. So to cultivate a meaning, it ignites thought, thought ignites awareness, awareness ignites oneness, but the oneness doesn't have a meaning either. So it has to get to know itself to define a meaning for itself. Okay, and we are the products of the separation from the oneness. So the oneness has to separate itself into many in order to get to know itself, separating itself from that space of oneness down through the different emanations in order to reach physical, tangible reality. These emanations grow more and more dense the further down they go, taking more and more definitive form until they reach the physical, tangible reality. Okay, so in other words, in order to get to know ourselves, we had to come into these physical avatars in order to define meaning for ourselves from a place of free will. Okay, and because we have free will and we're living in a realm that has specific laws that maintain that free will, yeah, that's very much what the multiverse is there to do. It's there to hold those specific rules and regulations that are basically ensuring that we have the free will to be able to evolve or not, basically. Yeah. So because we have free will, it's up to us which evolutionary journey we really undertake. Every soul has a reason, an evolutionary reason for coming into this specific physical avatar. Yeah, but it's up to us what specific pathway we take, and it's realistically up to us whether we listen to that evolutionary purpose or not. Okay. The multiverse is not a perfect technology. Yeah. It has its flaws, just like humans do, just like everything in the cosmos does. Okay. Perfection does not exist. Okay, the multiverse has its own flaws purely because we have free will. Yeah, so we're coming into a body with free will, and ultimately we don't know where that will is going to lead us. Yeah, so because we don't know, and because there is no definitive knowing, it's important to understand that it's naturally going to be flawed in its own way. So that means that because there is no perfection, the multiverse is really defined by us and only us. In other words, you are the multiverse. You are your personal multiverse. So in the New Age circles, the Matrix is often seen as something which is entirely separate. Yeah. And in many cases can be scapegoated. It's like, I am stuck in this system, I'm stuck in this physical body, and it's outside of me. The potential is outside of me. Yeah, a lot of the New Age circles do seem to encourage that separation. Yeah, seeing the spirit world, seeing the multiverse as something which is outside of you that has got a power over you. Okay, but that's illusionary because you define your multiverse, because we are living within a multiverse which has laws that are specifically in place to maintain free will. Okay, so because it's defined by us, we can realistically see the multiverse in either one of two ways. Either it is a prison for the soul that shackles our evolution. You'd be surprised how much of the New Age sees it that way. Yeah, we need to rise to the fifth dimension to get out of the multiverse, is what a lot of the New Age say. Yeah. And then we can see it as the evolutionary potential, the evolutionary technology of the soul. It's up to us how we utilize it. Yeah. Realistically, we need to stop trying to escape the physical plane and actually get to work. Actually get to work and start pushing energy towards what we are actually here to do. Start actually following our passion and understanding that we need to utilize the world around us as the playground for our evolution that it actually is. Okay. So when we look at the concept of the multiverse, how does the Demiurge and the Archons fit into this? The Demiurge in Gnosticism is referred to as the architect of the physical experience, or the architect of our multiverse. Okay, the being that is essentially in charge of it. The Demiurge is often described as a pretty malevolent being. Yeah, a malevolent being that only has bad intentions for humanity, that doesn't actually want humanity to evolve, but wants to keep us within this continuous cycle, yeah, of reincarnation, wants to keep us within this continuous cycle of being in this multiverse without any evolution. Okay, and the Archons are said to be the beings that are essentially in service to the Demiurge. Yeah, so essentially seen as the specific expressions of the Demiurge. Okay, the Demiurge is referred to by many names, yeah, such as Yaldabaoth and Jehovah and Yahweh. Yeah, so the Demiurge is referred to often as a lesser god, which has gained control over our physical multiverse within Gnostic belief. Okay, but it's important to understand that all of this is symbolic. Yeah, all of this is symbolic, archetypal for what exists within us because we have free will. Yeah, we are in a multiverse which has laws in place that keep us in a place where we have free will. So realistically, we need to look at the symbolism that the Demiurge really has. Yeah. Another way of referring to the Demiurge, as I said, is Jehovah. And Jehovah in the story of Lilith and Samael was seen as the jealous god that sought to separate the divine union between Lilith and Samael, casting Lilith out of the garden, castrating Samael, and essentially cutting off humanity from its magical potential. Okay, but that's again mythology, and we need to look at the symbolism that's behind the mythology. Okay, the Demiurge is also seen as a being that hides itself. Yeah, that hides itself, that doesn't want its real location to be uncovered. Yeah. What does that sound familiar to? The human ego. Yeah, so it's important to understand that the demiurge, in relation to psychology, in relation to the human psyche, can be seen as the ego. Yeah, and if the archons are the beings that serve the demiurge, then they can be seen as the thought forms. Yeah, the thought forms that essentially cultivate certain belief systems and patterns, both collectively and individually, that essentially stop us from moving into our full potential. Yeah. Thought forms are essentially anything, any thought, feeling, or idea that gain momentum and actually cultivate their own consciousness. Yeah. Through the mere belief of them alone. Yeah. Some communities of the occult may refer to this as an egregore or refer to it specifically as a servitor, which is a thought form which is basically built to just repeat the same thing over and over again. So if somebody has received trauma in their early years, then there's a fragmentation process that takes place, and there's going to be belief systems that form in order to keep them safe, in order to ensure that they are able to function effectively within the world that they are growing up into. Yeah, and these belief systems begin to form their own consciousness and create thought forms. Yeah, thought forms, essentially belief systems that are designed specifically to keep you safe. And what's the ego there to do? It's there specifically to keep you safe. Okay, so the demiurge being the architect of our physical experience, responsible for separating us from source, that's exactly what the ego is there to do. It's there to separate you from source and make your physical reality more comprehensible. Yeah, a lot of the occult communities see these entities as things that exist predominantly outside of the self. Yeah, the archons would be seen as different beings that may rule over different aspects of chaos within the world around us that are there specifically to stop us from evolving and to keep us in a cycle of re-traumatization. But that specifically is what thought forms are as well. They're just old belief systems and patterns that are essentially computer programs or servitors that are just repeating the same thing because they've basically learned that it's unsafe to go beyond that belief system. Yeah, for example, someone may have learned that it's actually easier and safer to have a low sense of self-value than to really take responsibility for their real power. Yeah, so they've basically learned that if they take responsibility for their power and step into it, then something outside of them may come along and ruin it. So a thought form will basically establish around that. Yeah, a thought form that basically pushes them into a place of having a low sense of self-value, pushes them into a place of power loss. Okay, so it's important to understand that the demiurge is the ego. Yeah, and the ego is there specifically to help you comprehend your physical experience. The issue is that it doesn't grow past a particular point. Yeah, so it establishes around the age of 7 according to the belief systems and patterns that you have gained through your experiences, and stops growing by the age of 10. So realistically, it's just stuck in that process, stuck in that cycle. Yeah. The ego can be referred to as various layers that have been established around one's truth and authenticity to basically ensure that we can maintain our safety within the world around us. Okay. So the concept of the matrix refers specifically to the shells. Yeah. The matrix refers to the multiverse. The matrix refers specifically to the shells that we have established, the illusions that we have created, yeah, the constructs that we've established to encase our truth and authenticity. And that's exactly what the demiurge is said to do within Gnosticism. Yeah, they're to basically keep humanity imprisoned and keep them within a space of them thinking that they know and can see everything that's in front of them. But in reality, there's much more that's going on under the surface that they don't want to see. Yeah. So when we talk about escaping the matrix, it's something that we can't escape from unless we are to die. It's important to understand that. But we can decode it. We can deconstruct our multiverse in order to reconstruct it in a way that is more conducive for our soul's evolution. Yeah. And it's important to understand that when we do that, we're not getting rid of the ego. Yeah. We're not trying to kill the ego. Yeah. We're not trying to take loads of psychedelics so that we can destroy our ego permanently. Yeah. The ego is a part of you. Yeah. The ego is the demiurge, and the archons are the thought forms. Yeah. The thought forms, the products of your ego that have been established to essentially keep you safe from the chaos that exists underneath. Yeah. Because particularly if somebody has experienced trauma, we build the personas, we build the constructs around that trauma, encasing our true vulnerability. But then when we crack that shell through working with the shadow, crack that shell through engaging with our continuous trauma work, we have to embrace what's underneath. Yeah. So in other words, when we break through that thought form, we have to embrace the true power and authenticity that exists underneath that. And that is what you could say is decoding the matrix. It's not about rising to the fifth dimension and escaping from it. You won't be able to do that. Yeah. In fact, the further along in your evolutionary path you go, the more healing that you undergo within yourself, the more sensitive you're going to become, the more aware you are going to become of the constructs that you've created. Yeah, the constructs that you have created in order to keep yourself safe from what really exists underneath. So, occultism, the occult specifically means hidden. So it's about exploring the hidden aspects of yourself, uncovering the truth about yourself and the world around you. Yeah. And that is a process of deep trauma work and self-exploration, being willing to crack the shells representing the archons, representing the thought forms, representing the belief systems and patterns that have been established from illusion. Yeah. From illusion to keep you safe from what really exists within you, and that is your power, truth, and authenticity. Yeah. So the process of deconstructing your multiverse or deconstructing your matrix is essentially a process of deep trauma work, where you're cracking these shells and learning how to reconstruct your reality, reconstruct the multiverse in a way that actually serves your soul and doesn't re-traumatize it. Yeah. The reason why the Demiurge and the Archons are seen as evil is because they're said to keep humanity in a trap. But we keep ourselves in a trap by not wanting to move beyond it, because we essentially learn that it is safer to be in that trap. We essentially learn that it is safer to be in that continuous cycle of re-traumatization, because if we go beyond that, then essentially we're going to get hurt. That's the programming that these thought forms and that your ego is holding on to. Yeah, it learns to detect danger from being in your authenticity, from being free, from being true to yourself. Yeah. So you can see the connection there. The Demiurge and the Archons said to imprison humanity in that continuous cycle, but we are imprisoning ourselves by not wanting to move on. So the process of essentially breaking out of the control of the Archons or the control of the Demiurge is to be true to yourself. And when you're true to yourself, that is when the vulnerable parts of you will start to come to the surface, because they've essentially learned that it's not safe to be vulnerable. They've learned that it's not safe to be true to oneself. Yeah. So we need to stop operating from a place of separation here. Yeah. There are many occultists, many people within the spiritual communities that are seeing these things as outside, seeing them as purely external threats that you don't have any control over. Yeah. If you're doing that, you are using that as a reason not to be in your authenticity. You're always going to be fighting something outside of you. Yeah. So the key realistically is not to fight the archons. The key is not to destroy the Demiurge, because the Demiurge is you. Yeah, trying to destroy the Demiurge, trying to destroy the architect is essentially trying to destroy your ego. Yeah, and you need your ego to function within a physical body. Yeah. When you die, your soul moves on, your authenticity moves on, but your ego dies. Yeah, so you need the ego to function within your physical experience. You need the Demiurge to function within your physical experience. You need the Archons to function within your physical experience. So they have served you in that initial period of your life. Because when the trauma comes in, there's no separation. So realistically, you have to create those constructs, those lies about yourself, because what else is there? What else can you do? How else can you keep yourself safe? Yeah, so those shells being the Archons and the ego being the Demiurge, they are serving you because they're trying to keep you safe. But if we want to evolve, we need to be willing to break out of them, and we need to be willing to not get rid of the Demiurge, not get rid of the ego, but mature it, mold it into the shape of our higher self. Yeah, be willing to mold it into closer and closer alignment with our truth and authenticity. So if we are operating from the space of needing to get rid of these beings or separating ourselves from them, yeah, we are not wanting to look at the trauma that exists within. It's so much easier to scapegoat external entities than to take responsibility ourselves. Okay, and we're in that time. We need to start taking responsibility for ourselves. If we want to make our life better, we need to stop scapegoating and start being honest with ourselves. Start nurturing our inner child and be willing to break through those false personas, those false constructs that are established to maintain coping mechanisms in order to keep us safe. Yeah. So the Demiurge and the Archons realistically represent the coping mechanisms. They represent the shells that are there to stop you from feeling your emotions. Yeah. But they are trying to serve you. They are your programming. They are your safety mechanisms, things that you needed when you were a child, when you went through whatever trauma you went through in order to keep yourself safe. But in order to stop that constant re-traumatization process, which you could say is the trap of the multiverse, is the trap of the Archons, is the trap of the Demiurge, we need to be willing to start holding ourselves and really embark on that true soul retrieval process of learning how to mold our reality into a conducive environment for our soul's evolution so that we are not getting re-traumatized by ourselves. Okay. The movie Matrix is a very similar concept. Yeah, in fact, the movie Matrix was probably inspired by Gnosticism. Yeah, because in the Matrix, you've got this physical multiverse, but then when you go beyond that, there's this realm of chaos that is maintained by this big collective entity. Yeah, and they're getting energy from humanity. Yeah, and within that is the architect of the Matrix. And then the agents, if you've seen the Matrix, the agents can be seen as the Archons. Yeah, there to essentially maintain the multiverse. Yeah, but it all is within. Yeah, it's not separate from you. You are the Demiurge. You are the Archons. Yeah, and it's up to you to realistically take the initiative, take the responsibility for yourself that is required so that you can step out of that cycle of re-traumatization. Okay. So massive subject, fascinating subject, but I think that's near enough all that I need to cover in today's video. If anybody has any questions about this concept, then feel free to get in touch. I have a very powerful membership program that is designed to take you through powerful initiatory systems that can start to break these shells, that can start to reshape your environment in a way that is more conducive to your soul's evolution, as well as many mentorships and healing programs, which I've also left links to in the description. Okay, so thank you guys. If this video was helpful to you, then definitely hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.